Nathaniel Hayes stood in his father's study, a manila folder trembling in his hands. Outside, Seattle's glittering skyline felt like a stranger city, a city he'd helped build with his tech empire. His father's stroke had stolen his voice, but the old man's eyes screamed with a remorse Nathaniel had never seen before, mixed with a desperate urgency. The nurse found the folder tucked inside a medical textbook, sealed with tape yellowed by time. When Nathaniel broke that seal, his world shattered. Inside were 2 birth certificates. Emma Claire Hayes and Oliver James Hayes. Born 6 years ago, mother, Claire Winters, father, Nathaniel Alexander Hayes. The impossible truth hit him, and his knees gave out. He sank into the leather chair that still smelled of his father's cologne. 6 years, he had children. Children who existed while he was building an empire, dating women he couldn't remember. Living a life that now felt utterly hollow. Claire. The name was a phantom ache in his chest. His wife of 2 years, the medical illustrator with paint-stained fingers and a laugh like music. The woman who made him believe in a simple, pure love. Their divorce 7 years ago was swift and brutal. His mother had shown him evidence of Claire's infidelity, bank statements, emails. He was drowning in a corporate crisis, fighting a hostile takeover. He trusted his parents, signed the papers they gave him, and let Claire disappear because he was too broken to fight. That night, he hired the city's best private investigator. He needed answers. I had to understand how his parents could hide something so monumental. How Claire could be out there raising his children alone. The investigator, a sharp woman named Rita Chen, found her in 3 days. Claire was a nurse at a community clinic. She lived in a small apartment with the twins. No husband, no partner, just a mother working double shifts. Rita showed him photos. Claire looked thinner, her face etched with lines of worry, but she was still achingly beautiful. And the children, his children. Emma had his mother's dark curls and Claire's bright smile. Oliver had his own serious expression, the same way he tilted his head when he was concentrating. They were perfect. He found himself standing outside their elementary school, the playground slick with rain. He just wanted to see them, to confirm they were real, healthy, and happy, and they were. Emma was building an intricate creation from wet leaves. Oliver was patiently teaching another kid how to swing higher. They were confident and loved. Everything he could have wanted for them, except they didn't know he existed. Then he saw her. Claire stood under a covered area, watching her children with a look of fierce protection and bone-deep exhaustion. She wore cartoon-covered scrubs, her hair in a practical bun. She looked like a soldier still standing guard after a long, hard war. When her eyes met his, the color drained from her face. She immediately gathered the children, her voice calm as she sent them to the far side of the playground. Then she walked toward him, her stride that of someone marching into battle. She stopped just feet from the fence, close enough to speak, but too far to touch. Rain darkened her scrubs, but her eyes burned with a fury that could melt steel. "You don't get to do this," she said, her voice quiet but unshakable. "You don't get to show up outside their school looking devastated like you have any right to feel anything about children you abandoned." Abandoned? The word was a physical blow. "Eichler, I didn't know," he pleaded. "I swear I didn't know they existed. I just found their birth certificates. My parents hid everything from me. They lied to us both." Her laugh was bitter. "Your mother showed me the settlement agreement with your signature. Your mother showed me the emails where you told lawyers to make me disappear. Your mother made it perfectly clear that you knew about the pregnancy and paid me to vanish. So whatever story you're telling yourself now doesn't change what happened." The ground shifted beneath him. His mother had forged his signature, created false emails, built an entire monstrous lie. The cruelty was breathtaking. "I never signed any settlement," he said, his voice raw with desperation. "I never knew you were pregnant. I thought you wanted someone else. Claire, please. Have proof my parents orchestrated everything. Just let me explain." "No." The word was absolute. "You don't get to use them to ease your guilt. Those children don't know you exist. They know their mother loves them and that they're safe. I will not let you destroy that because you suddenly decided to care." She turned and walked away, her back rigid. Nathaniel stood at the fence, the cold rain soaking through his coat. He watched his children play, a life he should have had continuing on without him. He was trapped, staring at a world built on lies so enormous they had stolen 6 years he could never, ever get back. Claire remembered the exact moment her life split in two, before and after. It was a Tuesday morning, 7 years ago, sitting on the cold bathroom floor of her sister's basement apartment. She saw 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the little plastic stick. Her marriage had dissolved just 3 weeks earlier. Her career was destroyed by legal contracts she didn't understand. Her entire future had been reduced to a mattress on a concrete floor and boxes she could unbear to unpack. She had called Nathaniel's phone that day, called it 17 times. Each call went straight to voicemail. By evening, his number was disconnected. When she tried to reach him at his office, his assistant said Mr. Hayes had left strict instructions not to accept any communication from her. The rejection was so absolute it felt like being erased from existence. His mother arrived the next day. Victoria Hayes, elegant and cold as polished marble, sat across from Claire in a coffee shop, like they were discussing a business transaction. Which Claire realized later was exactly what it was to Victoria. "My son has moved on," Victoria had said, sliding a folder across the table. "These are the settlement terms he's authorized. You'll receive a substantial payment in exchange for your complete disappearance from his life. Sign the non-disclosure agreement. Sign away any future claims, and you'll never have to worry about money again." Victoria had come prepared. She showed Claire bank statements with what appeared to be Nathaniel's signature, authorizing payments to make Claire go away permanently. She showed email printouts where someone using Nathaniel disruption with minimal disruption. She showed text messages about how relieved he was to be free of that mistake. Claire stared at those documents, feeling her heart calcify into something hard and unbreakable. This was the man she had loved. The man who had promised her forever. The man who had held her during her father's funeral and painted her studio walls yellow because she said it made her happy. This was who he really was. She refused the money, refused to sign anything that silenced her, refused to make his betrayal easy and convenient. Victoria's expression shifted then from cold negotiation to something darker. "You're making a serious mistake," Victoria said softly. "My family has resources you cannot imagine. If you try to cause problems, if you try to contact my son or make any claims about paternity, I will destroy what little you have left. Your sister's nursing license, her custody of her own children, your ability to work anywhere in this city. Do you understand me?" Claire understood. She was dealing with someone who viewed people as obstacles to be removed. Her choices were survival or destruction. She chose survival. Her sister Rachel held her that night, while she cried until her ribs ached. Rachel, who was raising 2 kids alone after her own divorce. Rachel, who worked night shifts at the hospital and still made room in her tiny basement for a sister who had nowhere else to go. "We'll figure this out," Rachel had whispered. "You and me and these babies will build something good from this mess." And they had. Claire found work as a medical assistant, then studied for her nursing certification at night while Rachel watched the twins. She learned to survive on 4 hours of sleep, learned to stretch $1 until it screamed. She learned that love didn't require money or security. Love just required showing up every single day and refusing to quit. Emma and Oliver became her entire universe. Emma with her serious concentration and her need to organize everything into perfect patterns. Oliver with his gentle heart and his way of explaining things with infinite patience. They were 6 years old now. It's 6 years of birthday parties in Rachel's living room. 6 years of homemade Halloween costumes and library books and park adventures. 6 years of a life that was small and difficult and absolutely beautiful. Seeing Nathaniel at the school playground felt like the ground opening beneath her feet. For 6 years, she had built walls around her heart strong enough to withstand anything. For 6 years, she had convinced herself that he was exactly who his mother's evidence proved him to be. For 6 years, she had been safe in her anger. But the man standing at that fence didn't look like someone who had abandoned his children. He looked destroyed, desperate, like someone who had just discovered he'd been living inside a lie. Claire spent 3 sleepless nights after that confrontation, replaying every word. Nathaniel claimed he never knew about the pregnancy, claimed his parents had hidden everything, claimed he had been searching for over a year. Could that possibly be true? Or was this just another manipulation? The package arrived at the health clinic where Claire worked. No return address. Just her name and handwriting she didn't recognize. Inside was a flash drive and a handwritten note. "Claire, I know you have no reason to trust me. I know my word means nothing, but please look at this evidence. I hired forensic document analysts, found the real emails my mother sent using my account. I found the forged signatures. I found proof that I was lied to as completely as you were. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking you to know the truth. Nathaniel. Her hands shook as she inserted the flash drive into the clinic's computer during her lunch break. What she found made her stomach turn. Forensic reports showed that signatures on settlement documents were digitally created forgeries. Email header analysis proved that messages supposedly from Nathaniel's account were actually sent from his mother's SIP address. Phone records showed that Nathaniel's number wasn't disconnected. It was forwarded to a service that auto-rejected calls from Claire's number. Bank statements showed that the settlement payment Victoria mentioned never existed. There were witness statements, too. Nathaniel's former assistant swore that Victoria had instructed her to refuse Claire's calls. Family lawyer admitted he helped Victoria create false documentation. Claire was staring at the screen, tears streaming down her face, when her supervisor found her. The evidence was overwhelming. Nathaniel had been telling the truth. He had been manipulated by his own mother just as thoroughly as Claire had been. For 6 years she had hated a man who was as much a victim as she was. Her phone rang that evening. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Claire. Nathaniel's voice was rough, uncertain. Did you receive the package? I did, she said, her own voice steadier than she felt. I understand if you still want nothing to do with me, he rushed to say, but I need you to know that I would have been there. If I had known about Emma and Oliver, I would have been there for every single moment. I would have fought my entire family. I would have chosen you and them over everything. Claire closed her eyes, gripping the phone. I believe you, she whispered. I looked at the evidence. I believe that you didn't know. The silence on the line was filled with 1,000 emotions. Can I meet them? Nathaniel asked finally. Not as their father, just as someone in their lives. I'll follow whatever boundaries you set. I'll go as slowly as you need. I just want to know them, Claire. Please. She agreed to coffee, just the two of them. Neutral territory. She needed to see him face to face to understand who he had become. Nathaniel arrived early. When Claire walked in, he stood so quickly, he nearly knocked over his chair. He looked thinner, with shadows under his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights matching her own. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. They talked for 3 hours. He told her about finding the birth certificates in his father's study, about his mother's stroke and his father's guilt-driven confession, about the year he spent searching, about the moment he saw Emma and Oliver and felt his entire heart reorganize itself around children he had never met. Claire told him about the basement apartment, Victoria's threats, and building a life from nothing. She told him about Emma's love of patterns and Oliver's gentle nature. I can't just let you walk into their lives, Claire said finally. They're stable, they're happy. Won't disrupt that for adult mistakes. I know, Nathaniel said. I'm not asking to be their father immediately. I'm asking for the chance to earn that someday. However long it takes. She studied his face, finding pieces of the boy she had married. She saw the sincerity in his eyes that reminded her why she had fallen in love with him. We start slow, she said. You come to the park when we're there. You're just a friend. If the twins warm to you naturally, we go from there. Ma. But the moment I think this is hurting them, we stop. Do you understand? Completely, his relief was profound. They met at the park that Saturday. Nathaniel arrived carrying a soccer ball, looking more nervous than she had ever seen him. She introduced him as Nathan, a friend. Oliver immediately asked if he wanted to play, dragging him toward the open field. Emma watched from the climbing structure, her serious eyes evaluating this stranger. Claire watched Nathaniel teach Oliver how to dribble the ball, his patience endless, his joy written across every line of his body. She watched him eventually coax Emma down by asking her to organize the game rules, somehow knowing she would respond to that invitation to create order. For the first time in 7 years, Claire let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, broken things could be repaired. That truth could overcome lies. That the family stolen from them might still be possible, rebuilt slowly from ruins into something even stronger than before. 3 months passed in careful increments. Nathaniel became a fixture at the Saturday park visits. Then the occasional Wednesday evening at the community center where Emma took art classes. He never pushed, never asked for more than Claire offered, never tried to claim a role he hadn't earned. To Emma and Oliver, he was simply Nathan, their mother's friend, who knew interesting facts about animals and could explain how computers worked in ways that made sense. Claire watched him with the twins and felt something hard inside her chest begin to soften. The way he listened when Emma explained her elaborate systems for organizing her rock collection. The patience he showed when Oliver asked the same question 5 different ways because he wanted to understand completely. The careful respect he showed for the boundaries she had established, never once trying to undermine her authority. Rachel noticed the change first. She cornered Claire in the kitchen one evening. "You're smiling more," she said, pouring them both tea. "When you talk about the park visits, when you mention Nathan's name, you're smiling like you used to, before everything fell apart." Claire wrapped her hands around the warm mug, staring into the amber liquid. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "What if I'm making a mistake? What if I'm letting him in and he hurts them, hurts me again?" "He wasn't the one who hurt you the first time," Rachel reminded her gently. "His mother did that. His mother lied to both of you. And from everything you've told me, he spent the last 3 months proving he's nothing like her." The reckoning came on a cold November morning. Nathaniel was at the park with Claire and the twins when the hospital called. Claire saw his face go pale as he listened to the doctor's report. When he hung up, his hands were shaking. "My mother is asking for me," he said quietly. "The doctors say she might not survive this one." "Go," Claire said immediately. "The twins and I will be fine." But Nathaniel looked at her with an expression that held both hope and fear. "Will you come with me? I know it's asking too much. I know you have every reason to refuse. But I don't want to face her alone, and you're the only person who understands what she did. What she took from both of us." Claire should have said no. But she saw the need in his eyes and found herself agreeing. Rachel came to watch the twins, and Claire drove with Nathaniel to the hospital in a silence heavy with unspoken fears. Victoria Hayes looked smaller in the hospital bed, diminished by age and illness. But her eyes were still sharp when they landed on Claire standing beside Nathaniel. Sharp, and filled with something that might have been regret, or might have been fury at being caught. "So you found her," Victoria said, her words slurred but understandable. "I should have known you would."
"You always were stubborn about the wrong things. Why?"
Nathaniel's voice was raw with pain.
"Why did you do it? Why did you steal my children from me? Why did you destroy Claire's life and make her believe I abandoned her?"
Victoria's laugh was bitter and broken. "Because you were weak. You would have chosen her over the company, over the family legacy, over everything we built. You would have thrown it all away for love. Like that means anything in the real world." "Love means everything," Nathaniel said quietly. "It's the only thing that actually matters. Your father was facing a federal investigation," Victoria continued, as if he hadn't spoken. "The company was on the verge of collapse. We needed you focused. We needed you ruthless. We needed you to be the son we raised, not some lovesick boy." Anger rose in Claire's throat. "So you destroyed both of our lives? You stole 6 years from your son and his children? Made me believe I was abandoned and unloved. You threatened my sister, all to protect a company." "All to protect my family," Victoria corrected, her eyes hard, "and I would do it again. The company survived. Nathaniel became the man he needed to be. It's what matters." "No," Nathaniel said, his voice steady now. "What matters is that I have 2 beautiful children who don't know I'm their father. That Claire spent 6 years struggling alone because you convinced her I didn't care. What matters is that you valued money and power over actual human connection. And that's why you're dying alone, Mother. Because you never understood that love is the only thing worth protecting." They left the hospital with Victoria's bitter words echoing behind them. Nathaniel drove to a quiet overlook above the city. The lights spread below like scattered stars. "I need to tell them," he said finally. "Emma and Oliver. I can't keep pretending to be just your friend. It's eating me alive, watching them call me Nathan when they should be calling me Dad." Claire's heart raced. "They're so young. What if it confuses them or makes them angry? Then we'll help them through it," Nathaniel said, turning to face her. "Together. The way we should have done everything from the beginning." He reached across the car and took her hand. His palm was warm against hers, familiar despite the years that had passed. "I never stopped loving you," he whispered. "Even when I thought you had betrayed me. Even when I tried to move on. You were always there, Claire, like a song I couldn't forget the words to." Tears streamed down Claire's face. "I loved you so much, it nearly destroyed me. When I believed you knew about the babies and didn't care, it broke something inside me I didn't think could be repaired." "Let me try to fix it," Nathaniel said. Let me spend the rest of my life proving that I choose you, that I choose them, that I choose this messy, complicated, beautiful family we can build together. They told Emma and Oliver on a Sunday morning in Rachel's backyard. The twins sat on the porch swing while Claire and Nathaniel stood before them, holding hands. "We need to tell you something important," Claire began, her voice shaking slightly. "Do you remember when I told you that your daddy lived far away and couldn't be with us? Well, I was wrong about that. Your daddy didn't know you existed. His family lied to him the same way they lied to me. But he's been looking for us, and he found us. He's been spending time with us for the past few months." Emma's eyes narrowed, her sharp mind making connections. "Nathan?" she asked, her voice small. "Yes, sweetheart," Nathaniel said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm your father. I'm so sorry I wasn't here from the beginning. I'm sorry I missed so much. But I promise you, if you'll let me, I'll be here for everything that comes next." Oliver stood up from the swing and walked to Nathaniel, studying his face. "Do you know how to do the monkey bars?" he asked finally. Nathaniel laughed through his tears. "I do. Want me to show you?" Oliver said simply, taking Nathaniel's hand. "Can I call you Dad? Would love that more than anything in the world," Nathaniel whispered. Emma was slower to warm, her cautious nature making her more guarded. But over the following weeks, Claire watched her daughter gradually accept this new reality. Watched her test the word Dad carefully, like she was learning a new language. 6 months after the hospital confrontation, Nathaniel proposed to Claire for the second time. It was in Rachel's backyard during a barbecue. "I know we're doing everything backwards," he said, holding both of her hands. "But I want to marry you again, Claire. I want to be a real family with Emma and Oliver. I want to build the life we should have had from the beginning." Claire looked at this man who had fought his way back into her life, who had proven his unwavering love day after day. "Yes," she said, the word like stepping into sunlight after years of darkness. "Yes, I'll marry you again. Yes, to all of it." Emma and Oliver cheered from the swing set, and Nathaniel swept them all into a hug that felt like coming home. They married 6 months later in Rachel's backyard in a small ceremony with just family and close friends. Emma was the flower girl, and Oliver was the ring bearer. Claire wore a simple white dress with paint stains on the hem from where Emma had helped her decorate it. Nothing about the wedding was expensive or elaborate. Everything about it was perfect. When they exchanged vows, Nathaniel included promises to Emma and Oliver. "I promise to love your mother with everything I am," he said to them. "And I promise to love both of you the same way. Nothing will ever separate us again. We're a family now, and families protect each other." Victoria passed away 3 months after the wedding. Nathaniel inherited the company, but he restructured it completely. He brought Claire on to head a new medical education division, supporting her return to medical illustration. They bought a house with a big backyard and an art studio for Claire. They built traditions and routines and the kind of ordinary, extraordinary life that only comes from surviving the worst and choosing to build something beautiful from the ruins. Emma grew into a talented artist like her mother. Oliver became a beloved teacher. Claire and Nathaniel grew old together, their love deepened by loss, lies, and the hard work of forgiveness. They told their story to their grandchildren years later, a story about how broken trust can be rebuilt stronger than before, about how families aren't just born, they're chosen and fought for. On their 25th wedding anniversary, Nathaniel gave Claire a painting she had created years ago, one he had tracked down from a private collector. It showed 2 figures standing in rain, separated by a fence, reaching toward each other across impossible distance. "We made it across," he said simply. "We made it home," Claire corrected, and kissed him in the backyard where they had rebuilt everything that mattered from absolutely nothing. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more. We'll see you next time.